FNaF 2, despite being the most irrelevant game, did introduce some of the most iconic characters in the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. JJ, RWQ, some of them are even important, like Shadow Freddy. There's also the Wizards, who are by far some of the creepiest animatronics in the series, but none of them are more iconic than the puppet, but this video isn't about her. Some other iconic characters were the newly introduced Toy Animatronics, who, much like the classics, are a perfect mix between endearing and creepy. They really are animatronics I could see being at a kid's pizza place. One of them was more popular than the others, but they all stood out in their own ways. Except BB, everyone kinda hated him. Oh, and Toy Freddy wasn't the most popular.
FNaF number 8 is that Toy Freddy, well, you know, he's kinda, fat. I mean, come on, you know, come on, what can I say?
And despite their popularity, they aren't really that talked about when it comes to theorizing. There's only really two theories that pop to mind when concerning these characters. Who built them, William or Henry, and if they are possessed. And if so, by whom? The last one is what I want to talk about today, so let's do it, I guess. I don't really have a transition. For some background, the other theory besides the toys being possessed is that they are purely acting based on their AI, and they're trying to kill Jeremy because of their faulty facial recognition, or because they were never given a proper night mode. Basically what Ralph says on night 1.
While our engineers don't really have an explanation for this, the working theory is that the robots were never given a proper night mode. So when it gets quiet, they think they're in the wrong room. So then they go try to find where the people are, and in this case, that's your office.
And that's basically the argument for the toys being AI. That's what Ralph said they were. So all I have to say is, I guess the animatronics in FNaF 1 saw you as a naked endoskeleton without its costume on. I mean, if we're taking Ralph's word as gospel, that must be what's happening. But wait, we know that's not true, since they don't stuff the actual endoskeleton in FNaF 1, and you know they're possessed by the souls of angry dead children. So clearly Ralph is not a reliable source. He means well, but he just isn't. Not only that, but the toys are clearly possessed. Look at these renders of Toy Freddy and Chica. Notice anything that might stand out compared to their usual selves? Their eyes are blacked out, which is just like what the animatronics in the last game did. Those animatronics are possessed. There's even more evidence to support the toys being possessed. In FNaF ARE, when the character of Mangle was introduced, there's an email that talks about how they couldn't recreate him climbing on the wall. This implies that Mangle was possessed, since if she was only acting on his AI, they should be able to recreate the wall crawling. But they can't. So yeah, the toys are pretty clearly possessed. Now hopefully Toys AI can die in peace. But that's not the end. We still have to figure out who is possessing the toys. But before we do that, I have to ask you guys to like and subscribe because I am trying to hit 2K before the end of February. And subscribing would just help me out a ton. There are two main theories as to who possesses the toys. The original 5 children murdered by William Afton years before the events of FNaF 2, nicknamed the MCI, or the new set of murders that happened in this game, nicknamed the DCI. Let's go over the theory that they are possessed by the MCI first. The idea spawns from Ralph saying that the toys were made using parts from the Wizards.
By now I'm sure you've noticed the older models sitting in the back room. Those are from the previous location, and we just use them for parts now.
And the fact that the DCI never really get a proper ending. They just kind of show up and that's it. Hell, there's some people who think the DCI never happened at all. It does though. The DCI happening is a pretty important part of FNaF 2's story. That's the main evidence for Toy's MCI that I know of. I disagree with this theory for a few reasons. First of all, the whole idea that the parts of the MCI in the toys possesses them and causes them to act up at night. That's not exactly how that works. It's more complicated. There's this great video by Glitchxity that explains that soul splitting isn't that simple. The spirits have to be willing to travel to a new vessel. Make sure to check out that video for a more in-depth explanation. But I actually disagree with the theory for a simpler reason. The DCI exists. Think about it from a storytelling point of view. Why would Scott introduce a new set of kids who died at the FNaF 2 location in a game with a new set of animatronics who act up at night and are clearly possessed if these new animatronics were just possessed by the old set of kids? That would make the DCI completely irrelevant, and they're already really irrelevant. Like, seriously, I feel like it's pretty clear what Scott was going for here. I know some people take issue with how the DCI never do anything again and never get a proper conclusion, but I'd argue they actually do get one in FNaF 2 itself. At the end of the game, the toys are scrapped, and I feel like this is most likely supposed to indicate the DCI being free, giving the DCI an ending in the game they're introduced in. This is why they never get focused on again. They moved on as quickly as they possessed the animatronics. At most, we could push them moving on to the FNaF 3 Fire, since their shells are in that game, but it doesn't really matter either way. The truth is, and not a lot of people want to accept this, DCI are just a plot device for the story of FNaF 2 to work. They were never going to be actually fleshed out characters. Hell, the MCI aren't even fleshed out characters. Their purpose is to possess the toys, and that's it. Now, there are some other arguments against Toys DCI. I know one is people believing the DCI happens after Night 5 and before Night 6, which contradicts the toys being possessed by them since they are active as early as Night 1. But the DCI is actually first mentioned on, I think, Night 3, with Ralph telling us about false rumors.
Oh hey, before I go, I wanted to ease your mind about any rumors you might have heard lately. you know how these local stories come and go and seldom mean anything. I can personally assure you that whatever is going on out there, however tragic it may be, has nothing to do with our establishment. It's just all rumor and speculation, people trying to make a buck, you know. Our guard during the day has reported nothing unusual, and he's on watch from opening till close.
It's then said an investigation is going on, and then the day guard, who was the previous night guard, leaves suddenly.
Okay, so just to update you, there's been somewhat of an investigation going on. We may end up having to close for a few days, I don't know. I want to emphasize, though, that it's really just a precaution. Fazbear Entertainment denies any wrongdoing. These things happen sometimes. From what I understand, the building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, you know, especially concerning any previous employees. When we get it all sorted out, we may move you to the day shift. A position just became available.
The DCI seems to have happened at night, since no one is around, and that's clearly a security guard killing them. So the DCI happened the week before Jeremy's shift. Rumors are going around, probably about kids who went missing just as they knew Freddy's opened its doors. And then the cops start investigating the location, and William goes on the run, probably because he knew the cops were close to finding something, which they do. That's why Ralph was freaking out during the Night 6 call.
Hello? What on earth are you doing there? Didn't you get the memo? The place is closed down, at least for a while. Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right.
So yeah, the DCI happened before the game. Also, something else people take issue with when it comes to the DCI presenting the toys is that they were never stuffed, which is just a non-issue. First of all, we're clearly not seeing the entire incident. There's definitely more has to happen after this, since William does hide the bodies. Or you could argue Fazbear Entertainment were the ones who hid the bodies. Also, Charlie possessed the puppet, and she was never stuffed into it. The crying child possesses an animatronic in the week before, and he died in a hospital. Also, we see that Mangle's already moving during the minigame, perhaps implying the DCI are already starting to possess the toys. I also know there's that theory where the only DCI victim is Cassidy. I disagree with that for a few reasons. First of all, it relies on the assumption that Charlie was the 5th kid in the MCI, which, I mean, it's possible she never went missing. She was straight up murdered. Like, they would have found her body. It was just left in the alley. William didn't hide it. Also, Golden Freddy was clearly the 5th kid during FNaF 1, so this would have to be the retcon Scott talked about. In case you don't know, before FNaF 6 came out, Scott confirmed there was one retcon in the series. Although Scott's definition of retcon seems to be a little different than what it actually is. His definition seems to be anything that's changing something that's already been confirmed. So for example, Mike Schmidt being the son of the killer, that is a retcon, but Scott wouldn't consider it a retcon because it wasn't already confirmed in the series. But it does recontextualize FNaF 1. Take that as you will. Anyways, he would retcon the puppet kid into being the 5th kid and just never imply it anywhere again, since in the novels, Golden Freddy is the 5th kid. In the movie, Golden Freddy is the 5th kid. And that's a continuity where we know the puppet exists. So, yeah. Also, like, there's clearly 5 kids in the DCI, and it's not just like the MCI apparitions. Since the puppet is asking us to save them, we can't save them if they're already ghosts and they're already dead. Which actually probably implies that the DCI were still somewhat alive when Freddy was moving around, which is actually pretty sad to think about. And yeah, that's it. The toys are possessed, and they are possessed by the DCI because literally, why would they exist if not to explain the toys moving around? And then they move on after being scrapped, or more likely the FNaF 3 fire, since their shells are still around. I know some people think they're in Lefty, but I disagree with that theory. I think if they were, Henry probably would have said something, like how he talked about the MCI in his Insanity speech. But to be honest, I'm perfectly fine with Lefty DCI. I'm actually fine with any DCI theory besides them not existing, because like I said, they really don't matter. Sure, the DCI are in the monitor, whatever. I used to like the theory that DCI were in Scrap Trap back in the day. He repaired himself with the shells from FNaF 3. I thought it was cool, but whatever. You know what would be cool? If you went down below and subscribed to me. Like I said, I'm trying to hit 2K before the end of February. Also, make sure to let me know, do you think the toys are possessed, or are they just AI? And I'll see you guys next time. Also, I just want to say this, the DCI should totally be retconned, and the toys should be possessed by the MCI. This would just make the story so much better, but okay, bye.